Welcome, dear viewers, to our in-depth exploration of North Korea, a nation that captivates the world with its secrecy and controversy. Before we delve into the intricacies of what one cannot do in this enigmatic land, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content on global issues. North Korea, officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, is a country unlike any other. Let's embark on a journey to uncover the myriad restrictions and regulations that define life within its borders. 1. Freedom of speech. Within the tightly controlled confines of North Korea, the right to freedom of speech is a luxury few dare to exercise. Any form of dissent or criticism against the government, its leaders, or its policies is met with swift and severe punishment. Citizens must adhere to a strict code of loyalty to the regime, with deviants punished by imprisonment in labor camps or, in extreme cases, execution. In North Korea, the suppression of freedom of speech extends to all aspects of public and private life. Citizens are indoctrinated from a young age to glorify the ruling Kim dynasty and the Juche ideology, which emphasizes self-reliance and loyalty to the state. Public displays of affection for the regime are mandatory, with citizens expected to participate in mass rallies and ceremonies honoring the leadership. Dissent is not tolerated, and even private conversations critical of the government can lead to punishment. The pervasive atmosphere of fear and surveillance ensures that most citizens self-censor their thoughts and opinions to avoid the wrath of the authorities. Despite the draconian measures in place to silence dissent, there have been instances of brave individuals speaking out against the regime, often at great personal risk. Defectors and activists who have escaped North Korea's borders have provided harrowing accounts of life under the regime's censorship and repression. These accounts serve as a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of oppression and the enduring quest for freedom and justice. 2. Accessing foreign media. The North Korean government maintains an iron grip on the flow of information, viewing foreign media as a threat to its propaganda machinery. Citizens are prohibited from accessing foreign news outlets, movies, music, or literature, with severe penalties for those caught in possession of such materials. State-controlled media serves as the primary source of information, propagating the regime's narratives and glorifying its leaders. North Korea operates one of the most extensive and sophisticated systems of information control in the world. The regime tightly controls all forms of media, including television, radio, newspapers, and the internet, to ensure that only approved content reaches the population. Foreign media, seen as a subversive influence that undermines the regime's authority, is strictly banned, and efforts to circumvent these restrictions are met with harsh reprisals. Despite the government's efforts to isolate its citizens from the outside world, smuggling of foreign media into North Korea remains a thriving underground industry. DVDs, USB drives, and SD cards containing foreign films, television shows, and news broadcasts are smuggled across the border from China and other neighboring countries, providing a glimpse of the outside world to those daring enough to seek it out. These illicit materials often circulate covertly among trusted networks of friends and family, allowing North Koreans to access information and entertainment deemed forbidden by the regime. The demand for foreign media reflects a growing awareness and curiosity among North Koreans about the world beyond their borders. The regime's attempts to control information may succeed in the short term, but they cannot suppress the human desire for knowledge and connection indefinitely. 3. Traveling freely. In North Korea, freedom of movement is a distant dream for most citizens. Travel within the country requires official permission, with individuals subject to stringent regulations and surveillance. Traveling abroad is an even rarer privilege, reserved for a select few elites deemed loyal to the regime. Attempts to escape the country are met with harsh repercussions, with defectors facing persecution and reprisals against their families. North Korea operates a system of internal checkpoints and travel restrictions that effectively limit the movement of its citizens within the country. Each citizen is assigned a residence permit known as a songbon, which determines their social status and eligibility for government benefits. Movement between cities and regions requires official permission, which is often granted only for approved purposes such as work, education, or family visits. Traveling abroad is a privilege reserved for a select few individuals deemed loyal to the regime, such as government officials, academics, and athletes. Even for those lucky enough to receive permission to travel abroad, strict controls and surveillance measures are imposed to prevent defections or unauthorized contact with foreigners. Citizens who attempt to defect or escape the country face severe punishment, including imprisonment, torture, or execution, and their families may also be targeted for reprisals. Despite the risks involved, a small but significant number of North Koreans have risked their lives to escape the country in search of freedom and opportunity. The perilous journey involves crossing the heavily fortified border with China, often with the help of smugglers and underground networks. Many defectors ultimately seek refuge in South Korea or other countries that offer asylum, where they face the challenges of adjusting to a new culture and rebuilding their lives. The stories of North Korean defectors serve as a powerful testament to the human desire for freedom and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Their courage and determination inspire hope for a better future for all those living under the repressive regime of the Kim dynasty. 4. Religious freedom. Despite nominal constitutional guarantees of religious freedom, the reality for religious believers in North Korea is bleak. The regime enforces state atheism and suppresses all forms of religious expression, viewing religion as a threat to its ideology of Juche. Religious gatherings are strictly monitored, and individuals caught practicing religion risk imprisonment, torture, or execution. North Korea is often described as one of the most repressive regimes in the world when it comes to religious freedom. The regime enforces state atheism and promotes the worship of the ruling Kim dynasty as a quasi-religious ideology. All forms of religious expression are strictly controlled and suppressed, with the government viewing religion as a potential challenge to its authority. The few religious institutions that exist in North Korea are tightly controlled by the state and closely monitored by government authorities. The Korean Christians Federation, an organization sanctioned by the regime, oversees a network of state-approved churches that are used for propaganda purposes and to showcase the regime's supposed tolerance of religion. However, these churches are little more than tools of state control, and genuine religious freedom is non-existent. Religious believers in North Korea face persecution and discrimination, with punishments ranging from imprisonment in labor camps to execution. Christians, in particular, are targeted for their perceived allegiance to foreign powers and their refusal to worship the ruling Kim dynasty. Despite the risks, underground churches and secret religious gatherings continue to exist, with believers risking their lives to practice their faith in secret. The repression of religious freedom extends not only to Christianity but also to other faiths such as Buddhism and Confucianism. The regime views any form of religious devotion as a potential challenge to its authority and seeks to suppress such beliefs through coercion and intimidation. Despite the regime's efforts to eradicate religious faith, there are reports of a growing underground religious movement in North Korea. Despite the extreme risks involved, courageous individuals continue to practice their faith in secret, driven by a deep-seated belief in the power of spirituality to sustain them in the face of adversity. 5. Accessing the internet. In an era defined by global connectivity, North Korea remains one of the most isolated countries in the world. Internet access is heavily restricted and tightly controlled by the government, with the vast majority of citizens denied access to the global internet. Instead, they are confined to a government-controlled intranet, known as Kwangmyeon, which provides access only to state-approved websites and propaganda. The internet is a powerful tool for communication, education, and access to information, but in North Korea, it is tightly controlled and heavily censored by the government. The regime views the internet as a potential threat to its authority and employs sophisticated technology to monitor and filter online content. Only a select few elites, government officials, and researchers have access to the global internet, which is heavily restricted and monitored by government agencies. For the vast majority of North Koreans, access to the internet is a distant dream. The government tightly controls internet cafes, known as Korealink, where citizens can access a highly censored and limited version of the internet. Social media platforms, news websites, and other sources of information deemed subversive or critical of the regime are blocked, and users are subject to surveillance and monitoring by government authorities. Despite the restrictions, there have been reports of North Koreans using creative methods to access forbidden information online. Some tech-savvy individuals have managed to bypass government filters and access foreign websites using virtual private networks, VPNs, and other circumvention tools. However, such activities are risky and can result in severe punishment if detected by the authorities. The regime's efforts to control access to information extend beyond the internet to other forms of communication, including mobile phones and international calls. Foreign phone calls are strictly regulated, and citizens caught communicating with the outside world without authorization face severe penalties, including imprisonment or forced labor. The lack of access to the internet and other forms of communication perpetuates the isolation and ignorance of the North Korean population, making it difficult for them to obtain accurate information about the outside world and challenge the regime's propaganda. Despite these challenges, there are signs of growing awareness and curiosity among North Koreans about the world beyond their borders, fueled in part by the smuggling of foreign media and the efforts of activists and defectors to disseminate information about life outside the Hermit Kingdom. 6. Owning or accessing foreign currency. The North Korean regime maintains strict control over the use of foreign currency, viewing it as a potential threat to its centralized economy and ideological purity. Citizens are prohibited from owning or using foreign currency without official authorization, with harsh penalties for those caught in possession of foreign currency. The regime tightly regulates all foreign transactions, with the use of foreign currency considered a crime against the state punishable by imprisonment or forced labor. North Korea operates a centralized command economy, with the state controlling all aspects of production, distribution, and consumption. The use of foreign currency is strictly regulated and monitored by government agencies to prevent the erosion of the regime's control over the economy and society. The regime views the possession of foreign currency as a sign of disloyalty and potential subversion, as it represents access to goods and services outside the state-controlled economy. Foreign currency is primarily used by the regime's elites, government officials, and members of the ruling Kim dynasty to access luxury goods, foreign travel, and other privileges denied to the general population. For ordinary citizens, the possession of foreign currency is strictly prohibited, and those caught in possession of foreign banknotes, especially US dollars or Chinese yuan, face severe punishment. The regime conducts regular raids and inspections to enforce these restrictions, targeting individuals suspected of engaging in illegal foreign currency transactions. Despite the risks involved, there is a thriving black market for foreign currency in North Korea, fueled by the demand for foreign goods and the desire to escape the constraints of the state-controlled economy. Smugglers and traders play a crucial role in facilitating the flow of foreign currency into the country, often using clandestine networks and bribery to evade detection by the authorities. The regime's efforts to control access to foreign currency reflect its broader strategy of maintaining tight control over the economy and society. By restricting access to foreign goods and services, the regime seeks to insulate its citizens from external influences and maintain its grip on power. However, the persistence of the black market and the desire for greater economic freedom among ordinary North Koreans underscore the challenges faced by the regime in maintaining its authoritarian rule. 7. Accessing information about the outside world. In North Korea, access to information about the outside world is severely restricted by the government, which tightly controls all forms of media and communication. Citizens are subjected to a relentless barrage of state propaganda glorifying the ruling Kim dynasty and demonizing foreign powers, particularly the United States and South Korea. Independent sources of information are virtually non-existent, with the regime maintaining a monopoly over the flow of information and actively censoring any content deemed subversive or critical of the regime. The North Korean regime exerts near total control over the flow of information within the country, employing a sophisticated network of censorship and surveillance to monitor and suppress dissent. State-controlled media outlets, including newspapers, television, radio, and the internet, serve as mouthpieces for the regime, disseminating propaganda and shaping public opinion in accordance with the regime's ideological agenda. Any information that contradicts or challenges the regime's narratives is swiftly suppressed, with individuals caught disseminating unauthorized information subject to severe punishment, including imprisonment, torture, or execution. Foreign media, including news broadcasts, movies, and literature, are strictly banned, and citizens caught in possession of such materials face harsh reprisals. Despite the regime's efforts to isolate its citizens from the outside world, there have been instances of individuals smuggling in foreign media and disseminating information about life outside North Korea. Defectors, activists, and international organizations have played a crucial role in raising awareness about human rights abuses and challenging the regime's propaganda. The proliferation of illegal radios and DVDs containing foreign films and television shows has provided North Koreans with a rare glimpse of the outside world, undermining the regime's efforts to maintain control over the flow of information. Despite the risks involved, many North Koreans are hungry for information about the outside world, driven by a desire to learn about life beyond the confines of their repressive regime. The regime's relentless propaganda machine, combined with its tight control over the flow of information, has created a highly insular and indoctrinated society, where dissent is suppressed and critical thinking is discouraged. However, the resilience of individuals and the spread of information through underground networks offer glimmers of hope for a future in which North Koreans are free to access information and make informed decisions about their lives. As we conclude our exploration of the restrictions and limitations imposed by the North Korean regime, it's essential to recognize the profound impact these policies have on the lives of ordinary citizens. From the suppression of freedom of speech to the control of information and movement, the regime's authoritarian grip extends into every aspect of daily life in North Korea. We must continue to shine a light on these injustices and advocate for the fundamental rights and freedoms denied to the people of North Korea. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the complexities of North Korea. Don't forget to like this video if you found it informative and subscribe to our channel for more insightful analyses on global issues. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and never stop seeking the truth.